everybody, we're back with a little bit more of an in-depth discussion about the breaking news of Marvel and their TV division currently going to be making more available to us with Scarlet Witch, Loki, and Spider-Man. And you guys are going to figure out kind of what we believe and what we kind of speculate could mean for the movies and everything going on forward.
Okay, so, monumental news. Clearly it's going to be years before we find out what's happening.
Yes.
But I think we got to start looking at this by looking at history. When the Defenders were announced alongside everything Netflix was doing, we understood where they were going.
Oh, yes.
I think this announcement, with the big rumor that myself and Mitch covered on the podcast a few weeks ago at this point, that Marvel Studios, the TV side, is going to be taking over, like the film and TV are all going to be underneath one brand now. I think this is that clear-cut indicator. And what this indicates to me is something Jeff Loeb actually teased about 8 months ago. I would say I made a report on this. He said that they're currently now looking at the crossover like Defenders, but down the road, we're going to see something even better. I think this is it. And
to really actually kind of think about it, too, right now, we have a very big disconnect with the TV show and the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
The only thing that the TV shows really, truly talk about, besides Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually having MCU characters on the show, is they've just talked about events like the Sokovia and the Sky.
The lame way that they mentioned the Avengers incident. The incident!
The incident. So this is actually a really great way to be able to have these down-to-earth characters. So now we can actually have Spider-Man meet Luke Cage or team up with Iron Fist or Daredevil or Jessica Jones. Like, this makes so many different possibilities.
Why I wanted to do this video, because the possibilities are there now. And since this is Variety reported it, it's got to be some sort of confirmation this is going to happen. Now, in my mind, the way I see this is, you're finally in New York, everything's coming under one brand, Marvel Studios is now behind the TV division.
Which is huge.
Daredevil, Spider-Man crossover could be right around the corner. And I know a lot of people want it. So Vince D'Onofrio as Kingpin could finally be taking on Spider-Man. What if, like we talked about in the last video, what if Hammerhead is hired by someone, at the end we figure out it is Kingpin to set up something else? You're finally going to have that connect we want. And I think this is what they want to do, because they hear people complaining.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, it's like you have... It could potentially be like a DC kind of issue. Here's Arrow. Arrow has all of Batman's villains. Why?
Right.
A lot of people are probably thinking the same thing with Daredevil. Yes, Kingpin is one of those central characters that almost deals with everybody in New York. But Spider-Man is a huge, and I mean almost bigger than Daredevil, character villain for him. So if we are actually able to finally have them together, it's just... it's mind-blowing.
Look, I have no doubt that the guys at Marvel could write it, because I always make the joke, look, what's 17-year-old Spider-Man going to help at 3 a.m. to Daredevil who's trying to stop a prostitution ring, okay?
Yeah.
It's probably not going to work like that, but if you base it, if you base it down to the most basics, I think you can make this work. And going along with that, you have to start thinking about the bigger picture then. Because once you start stepping into this, once the MCU takes some of their characters and puts them on a TV show along with a movie, suddenly the TV shows are not in that disconnect anymore. They're elevated to level quality.
Yes.
So whoever crosses over, they're suddenly brought up to this level that they didn't have before. And I think that's currently been a missing problem. And you brought up the DC Universe. That's a problem. Like, Titans is coming.
Yes.
And I have excitement for that show. I really hope that they deliver. But once again, that show's going to pull from stuff Arrow has already touched, and now the characters are completely different. And that's how the TV side of Marvel has sort of felt, even though they're the same.
They are.
There is that disconnect. Like, in the Netflix shows, they never put Avengers Tower in the back. Even though I know where it should be, it's never there. And it feels cheap. And I understand it's budgetary reasons, but you can have one scene, but they never do.
And the only thing we've ever gotten is Kingpin, was it Kingpin? I believe it was. In Daredevil Season 1, I might be wrong on who stated it, but they make a very point to state that they're up in their tower thinking of the problems of the world, and they don't have the time to look at the people down below.
Kingpin. I believe it was Kingpin. That's like, yeah, they're up in their ivory towers.
Yes.
And yeah. I mean, you know, so that is the thing, and I think this is going to be the first bridge towards that, because if you're going to be spending 80 to 100 million on a Scarlet Witch series or something along those lines, and suddenly you're doing a crossover with Daredevil, suddenly you can put that thing in the distance and have it be a part of there. And I understand Daredevil's in Hell's Kitchen, so it's not exactly next to Avengers Tower, so that can kind of explain it, but when you do a skyline, it's kind of cheap.
So I just did this, and the reason why I just did this is thinking of Scarlet Witch. We've had this discussion before, and it's based upon a comic that I unfortunately haven't read but heard a lot about, and I'm really interested in reading this comic and would absolutely love if they did this. So this is possibly going to be taking place after Avengers 4, because of the fact that we have to deal with events that are going to be after the current Avengers movie, after the snap, and whatever the repercussions are. If Vision doesn't come back...
So, before we get into too many spoilers, I do want to say we are talking about comic spoilers that could happen. We're going to just lightly touch upon House of M, and slightly say that Scarlet Witch creates her own universe from being psychotic. I think, because I've told you what that story is about.
Yes.
It's been years, maybe a decade since I read it, since it's come out, but that's the way you take it. That literally is the way you take it.
It would be a phenomenal way, because we already have kind of seen that she has that power, because in Age of Ultron, she's able to manipulate people's minds.
Exactly.
She can always manipulate her own.
Create her own alternate world of how events unfolded, which then you delve into the character. There, in her own world, you can bring back Quicksilver so he never died. You can pull in mutant elements that you need and reshape the world, and then eventually she could come back, because we're seeing multiverses and stuff now all explored, so this is all a possibility. But
then the only other character really is Loki, who is another person that they've stated is one of the 3 shows. So a lot of this, just like you're saying, we're about 1 to 2 years down the road. So now they have to stop and think about how these characters are currently written, how they're already being rewritten into Avengers 4, and now have to think of a brand new future for all of these characters. So does this then potentially confirm that Loki is no longer dead?
I think it could. And honestly, I don't think they have a problem with that. We know Spider-Man's not dead. We know Black Panther's not dead. They don't care, because it's the here and now. And it's kind of crazy, because I always talk about the bubble we're in.
Yes.
We're in a bubble where you watching this, you know what's happening. You're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. My dad, who's the casual viewer, who goes to the premieres with us, he sits there, and he has no idea there's going to be a Spider-Man 2. He's like, Spider-Man's dead. And I was just like, oh, there's some new set photos. There's another Spider-Man. How? He's dead. The everyday person doesn't know that. Our bubble, we think, is kind of like big.
Oh, yeah.
But the nerd community's kind of small. Not everybody knows what we know, So it's like...
It's actually very fascinating and fun to have those kinds of conversations. All of you viewers probably have these conversations as well with your friends that just kind of know things.
Yeah.
And then when you go and you just kind of blow their mind with a fact that... You're like, hey, no, what do you mean this is available? Go look on the internet. Oh, that's what you just talked about. And
I'm going to tell you guys right now, we know that at the beginning of this year, the Hawaiian Film Department and Marvel Studios already had lots set aside for something. Turned out it was Namor. Namor didn't end up shooting. What else are you going to give a $100 million budget to, other than one of the original, Marvel, the first Marvel hero? I think that right there is it. And you make that as a combined effort with Universal distributing rights. I think this is what we're looking at, and I think this is going to be the future. And honestly, it makes so much sense that now the possibilities, when we look back at the MCU 5 years from now, we're going to go, remember when we only had 3 movies and 6 shows a year?
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the reality,
It will be very nice to actually be able to get into different characters, because obviously we're not going to only get into the life and story of these 3 characters.
Oh my God.
It's going to be whoever's in their lives, whoever their villains are going to be. And that's one thing currently right now the MCU, I feel, and I know you feel the same way, suffers from. We get these character villains, and they are done. And
it's unfortunate because they have so limited time. I mean, how cool would it be? I'm not saying this is going to happen.
No.
How cool would it be if Doctor Strange 3 is coming? And they're like, hey, Mads Mikkelsen, why don't we bring you back and we're going to tell you Caecilius' story in a 3-part miniseries before he fell as a zealot at the beginning of Doctor Strange 1. So when it opens and he's cutting the head and he calls her a hypocrite, we finally know the story of how he lost his children and everything from the comics that was cut out. This gives you that opportunity, and what you can do with it is literally be like, okay, so Spider-Man picks up and here's what happened. See how he's kind of in a hurry? Check out the series that's going to drop right with the digital movie on our service. It's really positioning itself as the dominant force in entertainment, which I have no doubt Disney is going to be the ultimate company around. So.
It really will, and it honestly, it's coming in a very interesting day and age, because right now, like, talk about comic book sales. A lot of the shows and the movies, they have corresponding comics that kind of give you a little bit of details.
Right.
But comic book sales are nowhere where they used to be back in the day. And digital sales are really where the future is starting to go. So why not? If Disney's going to have their own service, make it that one step. You know what? Here we have a comic. Why not take the next step and we're going to make a show out of it? 3 episodes.
Yeah.
It could be just as simple as that. Honestly, True Blood used to do that way back. If you guys even remember what True Blood is, they used to have on HBO Baby Jessica, Baby Vamp's, like, stories. Yeah. So it would be what her mini adventures were in between.
It really is the smartest way to go. And honestly, it gives you the possibility to explore stuff. Because like I said at the beginning, you can now do Daredevil and Spider-Man, where before, rivaling factions and time commitment could not. They could go to Charlie Cox being like, we need you for 2 cameos, a movie cameo, and another season. Here's your giant paycheck. Of course he's going to sign it because it guarantees him like 2 years of work.
Yes.
You know, all these actors are taken care of with Marvel now and Disney. So, honestly, good things are coming. We want to know what you guys think they're going to do with some of these crossovers and what are the possibilities, because there is a lot.
There's definitely a lot, and you guys obviously have heard just a little bit of what we can think about, so it'd be really fascinating to know what you guys think about, especially with your comic lore knowledge. Yeah. So let us know in those comments below, and we'll see you guys around.